I am blue, you are bright and shiny in my mind. You got me loving, hating, crazy indecision in my mind.
Welcome to the Fall Podcast, where the focus is on deer hunting, tips, tricks, tactics, and stories from across the Midwest. And now, here is your host, Aaron Blasey.
Welcome to the Fall Podcast. I am your host, Aaron Blasey, and this is episode number 70. Justin, what is going on, man? This is episode number 70. I say it every week, but I feel like it's just like, it's climbing. I mean, I never thought I'd be at 70. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but it's like crazy.
Hey, time flies when you're having fun, right?
I guess.
It just seems when we just knock them out every week, sometimes more than one, and next thing you know, I mean, we'll be at 100 here before deer season starts. So
I know it. Yeah, and on today, obviously you're joining me for the intro, but last week I was able to talk with the HuntWise app guys. They came up to the studio here and showing us their new app and everything, so I sat down with them quick and jumped on with them. I'll have Spencer, Jeff, and Mark Peterson on, so there'll be three different guys and talking about their adventures and everything and just explaining the app. And there's some really cool features with this app, and I've been using it for a couple years now, and I just haven't really dove too far into the app. And after talking to these guys, man, they got some cool things coming out that I'm excited about, especially the AR feature, and how you don't really need to have topo lines where you can download your area if you're out elk hunting or whitetail hunting or whatever, and you can see a 3D view of topography where you're at. Doesn't matter if you're on a mountain or whatnot. You can see what's over the next bend, really, and over the next mountain. So they got some cool features coming out. So it was a cool podcast, a shorter one, but it was a lot of information.
Yeah, I remember you sending me some Snapchats when you guys are recording, and I saw it on Chris's Instagram story when you guys were going over that, and that could be a game changer for a lot of people. I mean, to have access to something like that, on your phone, I mean, you're basically turning your phone into a GPS, and you can, like you said, see what's around the next bend or over the next ridge or whatever, and decide if it's worth it or if you should go there, or just kind of get an idea of what it's going to look like before you get there. I mean, that's a huge thing to have in your arsenal for sure.
It is, and they make it, I believe they're making it an offline map, so like you got to have service to download the 3D feature, but once you've downloaded the area that you're going to go to, let's say you go on an elk hunt, you can actually take your phone out there and it's already downloaded, and you can use it as an offline map and still be able to see that 3D feature, so that's really cool. And like you said, that's definitely could be a game changer.
Yeah, it sounds like it's just like a regular, like, cached map, except it's still interactive. Like, you can still use it to the full potential you would in the app if you had service.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And my favorite part about the app, I think, is, I'm a hardcore whitetail guy, which everybody knows, but what I like to do is, set my stands, I name them and set them and everything on my farms, and then once you go in there and let's say you set a stand and you call it the pinch stand or whatever it is, and it brings up like a drop-down menu, and I mean, typically where all the good deer movement is, so you can select what winds you think are the best winds for that stand. And then let's say you've got multiple stands and you're trying to figure out where to go hunt one night, you can go in there and select all your stands and then hit a calculate button, and it runs all these algorithms in the weather, in the wind, and it'll give you a percentage on which stand would be the best to go to for the weather and the wind algorithms and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. It'll rate it like, one stand might get a higher rating than the other, or, one might just be like, you have to go here. It's like a 95% rating. So
right.
I think that's, my favorite feature, and I'm going to utilize a little more probably this year in the fall.
Yeah, that'd be interesting because I know you like to log your hunts, and I'm curious to see, like, over the course of the season, if you can actually validate that feature, by number one, hunting by what it says, but number two, if you actually, when you do see deer, you know that, you did have the wind advantage, or, that it just told you to do the right thing. I'm curious to see how that would play out.
Yeah, and that's something, the times that I do calculate stands and want to figure out, where I'm going, I am going to validate and just write notes down to see what I, saw and see if I can get a pattern on it. Like you said, I think that would be neat to figure out. And, if there's anything behind it, any merit behind it, then we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be cool to watch it unfold like that, and just kind of compare that data to what you're actually seeing and what actually happens. I mean, just one of those, another tool to put in the toolbox, like you said. So, speaking of hardcore whitetail, and I did something I said I probably wasn't going to do.
You actually did say this like a couple weeks ago on a podcast, so I just want to let everybody out there know that Justin is a hypocrite now.
I am. I got sucked in, but a couple of daylight trail cam pictures of some booners will do that to you, I guess. So.
Yep. And being on 700 acres, I could see that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to ignore what's there and not get excited about it. But so we did a podcast, I guess, back in the season, like probably November, December, with my buddy Cooper, who was an intern here at the time. But as I mentioned in that podcast, I've been hunting with Cooper long before he was an intern, and some other friends of his I've just kind of stuck close to over the years, and I've been hunting with these guys for about 5 or 6 years now, and they're gracious enough to actually just have me in there to hunt, and I've never done any kind of work as far as helping with food plots or hanging stands or any of the legwork, and spending a year here with Cooper and being this much closer to Wisconsin, where all those guys live, and this farm that they hunt, I said I want to do my part this year, and if nothing else, just pay you back for all the opportunities I've had. But spent the day up there Saturday putting in a really nice food plot, and just, you talk about a poor man plot or a food plot on a budget. I mean, this was totally off the hip, and got into town Friday night, hit Walmart and Tractor Supply. I got mineral, I got seed, and I rented a disc for ATV, and just went in there and banged it out in a matter of a day and hung a couple stands on it. So I'm really excited about it. Like, we'll break it down in another podcast for sure, because all in, I think I didn't go over $300 on this thing. So
what I mean by, or what you mean by that $300 too, is you bought, how many trail cams did you buy?
I bought 3 trail cameras, batteries, SD cards for all 3 cameras, seed, I rented the plow, and mineral. I'm all in for less than $300. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And once you started doing this, you were sending me texts and everything Friday night, and you and I weren't talking about it before, and you're like, we're going to Wisconsin on Saturday. And I'm like, whoa, where'd this come from? Like, this was total impulse. And so I think it's a good opportunity for you and I both to get on here in the next week or two to talk about the budget side of things and being able to do things on a budget. Because I know a lot of people out there in the same boat. You wanted to go over there. You just took your truck, you loaded your truck up with your 4-wheeler and like stuffed everything inside of it. I don't know how you got the disc out there. But
we had a
no
little trailer,
nothing.
Well,
did you?
Yeah, I rented the disc Saturday morning, and we had a little landscape trailer. I mean, there was no way. I think I could have got it on there. I mean, I would have had it like prop it up on the tailgate and strap it to the 4-wheeler, and I don't know. It was just so much stuff in there already.
My gosh.
So.
That's
cool.
I mean,
off the cuff, like you said, it was just a 9 o'clock at Walmart on Friday night to get cameras, batteries, cards, Tractor Supply to get seed and mineral. And I was waiting for True Value to open Saturday morning at 7 a.m. and we had that food plot. We had seed on the ground by, I think, noon, start to finish. And then I actually fenced it off because there was a couple cows in there that we had on camera and some other mineral sites that I wanted to make sure stayed the heck out of there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's a good idea because, I mean, you are traveling a couple hours away to do that, so you don't want to be constantly getting batteries and cards that are full and cows that, ruining the plot and eating everything. So, no, but I can't wait to get into the weeds on that because I'm interested to know how you did that. So I think we need to dive into that on another podcast. But,
sure.
I don't know if I told you, and I don't know if I've said anything on the podcast yet or not. And I might have told you through text or talking on the phone, but I don't know if I did on the podcast. But so everybody does know that I did pull a Kansas archery tag this year. So I will be hunting Kansas. But a little surprise, and I'm a little late to the game, but I did find out that I am hunting archery in Iowa this year.
So, I remember you mentioned that, and you weren't expecting it when you applied. I think you said you thought you were applying for a point, and then you got the email or the letter, and you got the tag.
So we were, like, when Chris and Casey and all of us were doing the tag system, we go through a service called Worldwide Trophy Adventures, and it's basically it's a agency that you go through, and they'll float your tag fees. So you say, this is what I want to be put in for, and then they'll pay for it, and then once you draw it, then you have to pay them back. So it's like they're floating you the fee. So that's how we do it, because we're applying for so many tags every year that the cost gets pretty expensive, and it's kind of hard to keep track. So they have files over there, and they keep track of it all. So Chris and I both had 3 points going to 4 this year. Well, when Casey was submitting all the tags and everything, he had told those guys that, hey, anybody that needs to be put in for an Iowa tag this year, just put in for points. We don't want to get any tags, because next year Chris and I would for sure draw, and then Casey would have enough to draw, so at least us 3 could be able to hunt in Iowa together. Well, so, once we did that, that was months ago. We were like, I'm just thinking, okay, I'm just going to hunt Kansas, which is fine. We'll hunt Iowa next year. Well, the draw results come out, and I didn't even go look because I thought I was getting a point. And Chris never went and looked or nothing. And Chad Johnson, he's the guy that I'm going to go hunt with. He's one of Chris and Casey's really good buddies. And actually, I want to have him on the podcast here too, because he runs a really good outfit. And Chris and Casey have been friends with him for a long, long time. And I think it'd be cool to get him on to talk about actually some of the deer he's killed over the years. He's killed, giants. And to just bring that outside or that outfitter perspective in too, because he runs a pretty cool outfit, and it's really legit. So that'll be on another one. But anyway, Chad texts me the morning of the results, and he's like, because I forgot to tell him that I wasn't gonna put in for a tag, and he texts me, he's like, so did you draw? And I said, no, I forgot to text you or call you. He's like, we're putting in for points this year. That was at like 9 o'clock the morning of the draw results. At 4:30 that afternoon, Chris and I get an email from WTA saying, gentlemen, I would like to congratulate you. You guys were accepted for Iowa archery. And I'm like, what? Like, this is not right, And I ran in to try to find Chris in his office, and he was in a meeting, and I had to get going. And I'm like, well, I can't talk to him or whatever. So I'm like, I go online real quick and look, and it says, yep, accepted, or draw results successful. I'm like, holy shit, like, I'm doing it. I got an Iowa tag now. So Iowa, Michigan, and Kansas, that's gonna be my haunts this year, so we'll see.
It doesn't suck.
No, it's actually a good problem to have.
Yeah. No, I'm excited to see how the whole season unfolds for you, but now I know you're gonna be stuck in that. Where do I hunt? I really like public, but I have opportunity on private. Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
All these options, like, I don't know. It's going to be 5 years before I get it again. Like, blah, blah, blah. You and I are the same when it comes to second-guessing ourselves. It's like, we talked about arrows the other day for an hour and a half, just trying to talk about Axis versus FMJs. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just an arrow, but...
Literally, it was an hour conversation, and I think we finally come to a conclusion what we wanted to get.
Yep.
No, but I talked to Chad, and I'm gonna go private right now, and I think I'm gonna come down there in August sometime. So if that's the case, then we need to hook up, and
Yeah, for
because I'm
sure.
gonna hang some stands, go get some bean footage, stuff like that. Because Chad's gonna let us on a couple farms there that he's holding off for us, I think. So, but when I come
Awesome.
down there, we need to hook up because I'm not too far from you. I'll be probably an hour, maybe not quite an hour from you. So.
Perfect. Yes. I've got that Utah trip planned. That'll be like the middle of August, so if it works, that's the only time I'll be away. So,
Yep.
yeah, for sure.
Well, cool. I guess enough talking. We're at 16 minutes on this intro, so I want to get these HuntWise guys on here, and so we'll kick it over to that, and we'll go from there, man.
All right, sounds good.
All right, today on the podcast, I have the HuntWise guys, Jeff, Mark, and Spencer with me. How are you guys doing?
Good. How you doing?
Excellent.
Good,
Thank
good.
you for having us.
Yeah, you guys are at the studio today here in Midland, and thought it'd take good opportunity to get you on the podcast here. So I'm excited to kind of dive into the HuntWise and learn more about it. I know it's something that I've used for the past couple years, but honestly, I haven't really dove too far into the app and I don't think I've used it to its fullest. So that's why I want to get you guys on here and talk about what it's all about, where it come from, and how it started. So if you want to start with that, can we go from there?
Yes. So HuntWise originally was not a business concept or an idea. I'm a hunter. I have been my whole life. The original idea, it was about 4:30 in the morning. We were going on a goose hunt, of all things. I'm like, man, every time we go, we try to track the weather conditions. You're looking at wind direction, wind speed, pressure. A lot of guys are more in depth into it. Some are moderately. And so I'm like, I wonder if there's a tool that we could use to help make our decision easier, right? In my background is computer science, kind of this weird mix of loving the outdoors and computer. And so that day I went home from the hunt, and I'm like, I bet if you use the different weather variables, traditionally people just use the solar calendar, of which I found was not the complete story, right? You see one piece of it, and even that's debated whether that's accurate or not. So we kind of devised these algorithms based on pressure, temperature, rising or falling temperature and pressure, wind speed, wind direction, and then it also rotates those variables. So we call it it's a rotating stacked algorithm. So it says when the wind is in this, when all the stars align pretty much, we can give you a 5-star day. And so, but at the end of the day, I tell people it's not rocket science. It's not like there's a magical formula. It's just that we've done a lot of research, and we take a lot of expert thought. And then when everything is in its optimal range, it's going to let you know, and you're going to see a 5-star day or a 4-star day. And we don't say you're going to see a deer because we say it's a 4-star day. But if over time you take, use the algorithms and use what they predict for you, you might see a 20 to 30% improvement of when you're seeing deer, and then you might be in those spots more of the time. Pick the days that you're going to see more rather than less, and we've seen that, and it's just been fun. Apart from the science, the algorithm perspective, my family, my dad and my dad's dad, it's just been passed on from generation to generation, and just building relationships with people that you love to do it. But we all want to have more success.
Exactly. And nowadays too, all these people, these hunters out there looking for this, I call it a big buck equation. They want A plus, B equals C equals, I'm going to kill a big buck or something. They're looking for that. And I can see how this, a lot of these apps are designed where, like you said, the algorithms with the pressure and the weather, and the jury's kind of brought that on too, because Mark Drury is a scientist when it comes to, weather and, that equation. Everything, the first south wind after 2 norths, it's like, oh, it's great movement. Well, why is that? But one thing the algorithm, and I don't know if probably your guys' doesn't do that, and it's hard to do that, is like, pressure. people pressure, coyote pressure. You never know if a deer or a coyote might come in your area and spook every deer, and you go in there, it's like, oh, it's the perfect night, So that's you kind of got to adapt from, the Iowas to a Michigan. I mean, I can listen to Mark until I'm blue in the face about Iowa, but it doesn't really, I have to adapt to the Michigan side of it. But I love that I can look at your guys' app and it gives me like, oh, it's a 2-star day. Well, maybe I shouldn't really go hunting that day. Or it makes you think other ways too.
And that's a key part if you look at people's time. Like,
exactly.
Every person can't go and bow hunt 5 days a week. They may be
Right.
able to get out twice during archery season.
Yep.
So you take that app and you play through it and say, you know what, if I got 2 days, I'm going to go on Tuesday and
Yep.
Thursday because those are my best start days.
Yeah, and
Right.
putting your vacation time too.
Exactly.
So it's
Yeah.
like looking ahead a little bit, 10 days ahead. Okay, maybe I shouldn't take vacation today.
Yeah.
And let's do it, So I really like that about it as well. Do you use it a lot on your hunts, like out of the U.S.? Because you're
Yeah.
on a lot of
Yeah, so-
international hunts.
So it also works in Canada.
Okay.
I used it up there, especially when bear hunting. You do the same thing. You set
Yep.
your stands and so forth in Saskatchewan. All my North America hunts, it's cool just to use the map feature.
Yeah.
Find out where you're going, what you're doing, especially before you get there.
Yep.
If I do a little bit of research before, know the exact area so I can pull up
Mhm.
the land stuff on there. I actually started using the feed on it a lot more.
Okay.
Just truly, it's all hunting. Like
Yeah.
I found what I was doing on social is like on Facebook, Instagram, everywhere else. I basically limited it down to the hunting anyway.
Yeah.
So this one, it's just already there. It's hunting pictures. I would say it's a different group of people than that's on Instagram or Facebook because these are people that probably would never post in general like
Right.
that. So I call it like-minded.
Can
So-
you guys explain a little more about the community side of HuntWise? Because it is kind of a community, right? So it's kind of like a social aspect. Can you explain more how that come about and why you did it?
Yeah, I think we look at it in a couple ways. I think when you think about the hunting community, at times hunting can be polarizing.
Yeah.
On certain social channels, right? If I'm going to do a grip and grin photo with my beautiful whitetail, I probably went to school with somebody that doesn't love that.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's okay. But we wanted to create a place where people felt celebrated for their passions.
Yeah.
And so taking a look at kind of our social feed, we wanted to get to a place where we felt like people could be celebrated, but also we look at it from a kind of a newer hunter, right? So we hear things like numbers are dwindling. How do we, train up the next generation? And people are learning differently. So Jeff learned from, his grandfather and his father. I didn't have the luxury of doing that. I grew up in the city.
Yep.
And so I'm going to digital channels to learn. YouTube, social.
Yep.
And we really want to create a place where you can connect with other hunters
Right.
and grow.
Yeah, which is great because nowadays, I'm 32 now, but when I was 10, 11, 12, 13, YouTube really wasn't there. You couldn't really go and search, like, how do I work on my bow? Like, how do I press a bow? How do I put a D-loop on? You really couldn't do that. You had to go to a shop and you had to do that. Now, people are evolving more now just with the different technology that we have, and I think that's really cool how you guys brought that into that app. And I think it eliminates a lot of trolls too, that you would get on social media. And we were talking about it yesterday just in conversation about how you're only accepted if you are harvesting or killing bigger animals, and then the trolls really start coming out if you don't. And I really don't like that about that. So I think in a way your guys' community like that probably eliminates a lot of that. Am I right, or am I kind of far off?
I'm honestly so blown away about how amazing our community is at times. Just you see the young teen kid who gets his first doe, and the community immediately comes around him, said, "That's incredible, great
That's
start."
awesome.
And usually there's a caption, right? It's like, "It's not a big buck, but I'm pretty excited." And
Right.
there's 30, 40 comments from hunters all over North America saying like, "This is how we all started."
Exactly.
And so we're really excited about that. And then there's some other things that we're getting pretty excited about. There's gonna be some new releases coming out kind of
Cool.
within the feature set, just to find other hunters near you, and start collaborating, right? So if I'm trying to learn in a specific space, right, and I'm trying to get into a new category or new species, I can find other hunters near me that are targeting those species.
Oh, that's really cool.
So it allows just for you, like, hey, do you mind having a hunting buddy on your next waterfowl hunt? Like, would love to learn. I know nothing. And so we're pretty excited about it.
That is really cool. Were you going to elaborate on something there?
No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and it doesn't matter where you go. Like you said, you'll find someone that is lending a helping hand and can point you in the right direction too. To kind of elaborate more on what you said about, international hunting, but also, like, let's say we're going to go on like an elk hunt and no service. Now, is there a way to get that, your maps and everything out there? Is it an offline feature? Or how do you work that?
Yeah, so we just spent a lot of time and revamped the way that our mapping structure works, and I'm really kind of proud of what we came up with. So it allows you, we call it a property, but out west it could be an area, it could be whatever place you're going to. As soon as you create it, it asks you, would you like to download this for offline use? And you can choose the detail, low, medium, or high res, depending on how big, your phone size. And and then within that group, you can plot all your pins and your paths, and it's organized very cleanly. And I think part of what we wanted to do is, and this is always what we have in mind, is how do you make a really robust tool that gives the user something that they can really do a lot with,
right? But
it has to be user-friendly. It has to be simple. Your dad has to be able to use it, or your dad's dad has, and I laugh with my dad because he's like, you got to show me how to use this. But our job is to make something where you don't have to answer that for anybody. And so as soon as you create a property, it says, would you like to offline this? You say yes. It starts downloading in the background. And then immediately you can go in and start plotting your stands or your waypoints, your glassing points.
Okay.
And then while we're talking about some of the features, on iPhone, we have an amazing new tool that, your elk hunters are using, and it's our 3D mode.
Okay.
And so once you create a property or an area, say it's, in the mountains, or there's some definite elevation changes, you can actually render that view in a 3D space. And use like an AR augmented reality 3D render of it.
Okay.
And so you can, instead of trying to read, topo lines, which sometimes can be challenging to see really how your land is, you can literally put yourself in, on a point where you're glassing and see what you're going to see as if you're standing there.
That's awesome.
Something that no other app has to date, and just an amazing way for people to visualize the hunt.
Yeah.
Especially with, you have a lot of DIY guys that are, I'm doing my first elk hunt or my 12th elk hunt, whatever it is. I want to see where I'm going to be, and you can turn on a layer. We just added, over 200 layers where I can now see, okay, here's all my access points. Here's the trails that I go up to it. I'm going to render this in 3D. And it's like you have this amazing plotting tool or planning tool essentially, that, we're excited about it, and it has offline capabilities, and combined with, a lot of other apps, they just have maps or just have one thing. But then when you combine, the weather with the map, with the social side of it, hunters don't want lots of apps, right?
Right. They want one.
Less apps that do the right thing.
Yep.
And so we're really trying to give people a simple, easy way of the right things to use before the hunt, during the hunt, and after the hunt.
So the render feature, so if you're going out, and let's say you don't have any service on the mountain, you're elk hunting or something, you can't render it probably right there, right? You would have to render it when you did have service, and then, kind of pre-plan for that.
Yeah, and right now that's the case. We're looking, just like you can offline a map in the future, we want to allow you to use those offline maps for that 3D. But honestly, a lot of people are using this for scouting. So they're they're at home saying, hey, where should I go to? We have tracking tools that obviously let you track your location, kind of a breadcrumb feature, so you can record your path. So there's a lot of things that you can do during the hunt. But that tool is a lot of people just use it before the hunt to say, hey, what am I going to expect?
Well, and that's good too. And then that'll probably be good for you because you get in situations where you're like, I don't know what's over the next mountain.
The big part about it is it saves a ton of time when you get there. Because it's not, I know where I'm going to get to the glass, but I can actually track where I'm going to get there. So I don't have to go to this ridge and then all of a sudden look and say, okay, now I got to go a mile over here to the north to actually get to the rim where I want. No, you can actually use that rendering and take it and do your exact path of how you're going to get there.
So it's making you more efficient.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, saving time.
Yep, saving time and saving your legs too and everything. And endurance. So that's really cool. Now I kind of want to switch to the whitetail side of things, for the whitetail hunter that is just going to use it for his farm in the Midwest or wherever that is. What are the best features for a whitetail hunter? Like, what can you do with this app to make a whitetail hunter, make it useful for them?
Yeah, so this is really kind of our original core of what we built our tool set on, and being from Michigan, I think that's a lot. People are plotting food plots. They're managing their land. It's not a spot and stalk. It's a stand hunt. And so we really focus on the property and managing your property all the way from measuring food plots and understanding acreage, so you're buying the right amount of seed. It's a little bit tucked away, but one of our most used features is as soon as you plot a stand, you can set your ideal wind direction. So if you know kind of the general pattern of the deer, you can set your optimal winds for each stand, and then in one click, it'll rank them all based on the wind pattern. So you can say, hey, I'm going to go in 3 days, and at 6 p.m., it'll literally say, 87% at this stand, 65% at this stand. And so people will say you have, 20 or 30 stands, even 5 to 10. If you just on the onset take a little extra time and plot those ideal wind conditions, and then it's pretty cool what the tool does, and it shows a scent drift animated graph, and then helps you identify really quickly without remembering where all your stands are, remembering what direction they're facing. I mean, I've seen guys do this, and that's
my favorite feature of the whole app.
Is
honestly,
okay.
What you said. But I guess my question to you also is like, so when you calculate and you want all those stands to be calculated, does it only take in the effect of the wind, or does it take in like the barometric pressure and the weather coming up, or how does that work?
Yep. So right now it's all of them. If you have your ideal wind set, it includes that into your prediction.
Okay. Gotcha.
We are kind of migrating it to, right now you can basically predict from any stand. And so in future months, you'll predict from an area, because it doesn't always make sense to if you have 20 stands on your property, you're not going to have different weather on every stand, right?
Yep.
Unless you're hunting thousands of acres or hundreds of acres. But majority of all people are going to have the same weather on one property.
Right.
And so you're just going to select a property, and you're going to get the prediction analysis on that whole property. And then from that screen, you're going to then say, okay, now what is my best stand?
Okay.
And then that is based on your ideal wind.
Gotcha.
So you'll say, so it'll say, hey, Thursday, based on the weather conditions, Thursday at 6 will be your best time to go out. And then while you're out, your second question is, well, what stand should I be at? Mm-hmm. And then the compare stands, feature comes in.
That's really cool, and that's taking something a step further. Mm-hmm. That's what I really like about your guys' thought process, is you're taking something one step further than anybody else really is, and that's what I like about it, because that's me. I'm a whitetail nut, and I'm on apps all the time, and I've got 8 hunting apps, and it's I got to go to weather for one and another for this one, but I like that about it. Now, one thing I was wondering if it did have, and I haven't seen it yet. So me being a producer and, filming for Chris and Casey, and so if I'm out filming Casey, what I like to do is take a journal every night of, what we seen, what I filmed. So when I get back in the edit bay, I know, my storylines and everything. So it's just easier, because I forget, 8 months ago, what happened. So what I like to do is, while we're in the stand, if we have a couple does come out, once those, I'd get all my shots and everything, go into that app real quick. You always got your phone with you, and just write a little journal for myself. Say I saw 3 does. and then it logs, maybe it would log a time. So at 3:45 on December 7th, you saw 3 does, and, I filmed them for 30 minutes. I don't know but does it have a feature, something like that, where you could like journal out for yourself? I mean, nobody else really has to see it, but I know a lot of guys are starting to get more into journals and kind of, not even for filming, just for their use of just remembering. And because a lot of guys are saying, with bucks year after year, they have annual patterns, and stuff. So just to keep it fresh in mind, do you have anything like that?
So right now, what you can do in that case, on each log that you post, you can make it private.
Okay.
And you can also tag what you've seen, and it'll store that. And so in this case right now, I would just create a log, type, your message would be your notes or whatever you wanted. You could turn on make private if you wanted just to be your private thing. And you can add your harvest, hey, saw 3 doe.
Yep.
You can tag that right in your post. There's a tool on the back end on the website only right now. If you go to the Me tab on the website, there's a stats section that compiles all your stats.
Gotcha.
And it's kind of another little hidden gem. What in the future, what we're going to be doing is moving, because people see social different than what you're talking about.
Yep.
Right? So right now we collect all the information. So when you post a log, we're on the back end collecting weather, time, what the pressure was then, what all the temperature. So all the data exists. We're going to move that to the prediction tab so you can do like a smaller, just like a quick harvest report, just like you're saying. It's not like a full log, not a social feed.
Yep.
It's just a quick, we can even geofence it when you walk out of your stand,
Right.
Hey, what'd you see? Boom, 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 whatever. Done.
That's pretty cool.
And then that goes right into this journal that in turn would improve your predictions.
Yeah.
So like you don't even have to, if you saw 5, it would remember that, and then when it would predict, it would include that, and in making your own predictions smarter.
Yep. And then one of my farms here in Michigan, my wife and I are the only ones that hunt it, so we log adult does and bucks that we see. So then at the end of the year, we say, we tally them all up, and then we try to figure out our buck to doe ratio that way. So that was another feature for me that I do it manually and just try to figure out what the buck to doe ratio is and what you've seen during the year. And I don't know, like I said, I'm a nut like that, so I like the scientific side of things. So
sure.
But no, that's really cool. Now, Mark, do you have anything that you love about the app from all your hunting experiences? Like one thing that is like a must for you on it?
Ooh, I would say there are a bunch of musts on it now. A cool thing with the outfitters that I own that are kind of spread all over though is that offline where you track a property. And I could have the guys actually send me the property layouts after they're done.
Okay.
So like down in Kentucky, we probably have at Salt River, what was it, 58 leases or something like that, spread all over. Vary from 4,000 acres down to 20,000 acres. You know, some guys are like 20 acres. What are you doing with 20 acres? I'm like, that's where the 190 was shot off to. You guys don't understand. We're strategic in why we get this.
Right, yeah.
But like George goes in and he plots these properties and has the stands plotted on them, and he can send those to me. But the cool part is when we have hunters in camp, he can now send those to the hunters in camp. So as they're sitting, they can see the whole. They can see where they're actually at, and where their wind is going and so forth. So I take a step back from me, and in the outfitting world, it's making the outfitters better.
Gotcha.
Because it's making the hunters better as they go there too.
Yeah. So they're always learning. So that's a great point.
And for me, with my travel schedule, like the prediction part, when I'm actually at home, I'm like you. Like I hunt no matter where I'm at. Like I'll be home. And there's smaller deer in Michigan. Everybody knows it. I still hunt.
Yeah.
I still hunt.
Love it.
I love it. That's what I do. But I've also got 3 kids. So when I'm home, like family's number one priority.
Yep.
But then there's still a couple nights that I'm going to sneak away, or a couple mornings that my wife's going to drop the kids off at school. What days am I going to pick to do that? I'm the same when I'm home. I have to manage my time. So I'm going to pick, Tuesday morning because it shows the best place here.
Yeah. I love that. You kind of take the guessing game out of it for hunters as well, like with that calculating feature and everything, with any of the wind and algorithms that you got going on in the weather. So that's what it's like you always fight with yourself. It's an internal battle. It's like, do I go to this stand or this stand? Well, I'm pushing the wind here, and it might be that little push over the hump. It's like, oh, I can go here. I didn't think about that one. So, well, very cool. I want to be pressed with your guys' time, and and we'll probably cut it loose here, but I appreciate you guys coming on and doing this. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you want to get out there about the app, or, where can people go to download this, and, maybe the packages that you guys offer for it?
Yeah, so right now it's available on our website at HuntWise.com. You can get the app on the iOS App Store, on the iPhone App Store, or on Google Play on the Android Store. I always like to leave with hunting for us is not about an app, right? And it never has been, and in my opinion, never will be. Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that it does, to help hunters, and but the point of hunting for us has always been, to be a part of creation and enjoy it with other people and to build relationships. Yeah. And so I think it's great, a lot of the things that we're doing, but I always want to come back to the why, right? And we share that as hunters, and I think that's cool. And it's just been a privilege to be in the outdoors with people and to enjoy them.
Yeah. And Spencer touched on this a little bit. The community is with Jeff's message right there. The community that's within the app, and you see the different age groups, and you see like outside on an Instagram, there are bow hunters that will not follow rifle hunters. Right. There are rifle hunters that will not follow bow hunters. Yep. There are Western hunters that won't follow Eastern hunters. There are people that bait. There are people that don't bait. The beauty about HuntWise is the central core is why everybody is on that platform. Yeah, it's got cool mapping. It's got the hunt prediction. It's a community, is what it is. And if I'm a hunter, I truly support all forms of hunting. I don't care if I'm an archery guy or a rifle guy. Like that's the community part. Or a child's first deer. Yeah, it was a 4-point. You know what? Me as a hunter, I don't really care, because that child is now engaged in hunting. That's the beauty first step, and Spencer touched on it, and Jeff did too. The community aspect of HuntWise is why I'm proud to be part of it. It's got all the cool features. It's if I look at the mapping, like where it's going to be between now and the next year, it's going to be leading. If I look at the hunt predictions, it probably already is leading. If I look at the social feed, it's definitely leading. But that community is the part that it's going to be exciting to watch grow from now over the next 5 years.
Right. Well, in the hunting world too, it's small,
it is.
And we're losing hunters at a rapid pace, and that community is bringing more hunters together as well, and getting those younger kids and that younger generation in, and building our hunting community back up, because we're so small in the grand scheme of things, and we're getting stomped on in a lot of ways, you know. So
and it's engaging a younger crowd. Yes. How do you keep them? Well, this app is what kids are on apps all the time.
And
that's
social
what
media,
they do.
like
now all of a sudden they can play with this app while they're in the field hunting, and it's the same thing. Like I live, breathe, and I'm not going to say how many days I'm in the field a year, because in case my wife listens, I can't get out.
This is the first time I've seen you in 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. It's the first time I've been here. Yeah. So, like that, I would do anything to take my kids out. My kids' schedule right now is busier than mine is.
Right.
They have sports every single night. They've got this going on. So even though I live, breathe, and literally in the field during hunting season, if you call hunting season for me, it's all year, but if you call the fall, 90 days. Yep. That 90 days, I'm literally in the field 86 days. Yep. I'm like, Halloween is the one day my wife says I got to be home with the family, Thanksgiving, like you count the major holidays, I'm there. But other than that, I would do anything to bring my kids out. So it's planning, okay, I'm going to get my daughter out. When is the best time to actually take that? Because I know she can only get out for 3 to 5 days. Right. Like that, I got to maximize her time in the field. And as you have a younger person in the field, you can't go out there and just have a dud for like 6 hours. Right. And sit there with an 8-year-old for 6 hours of not doing anything. They're going to be like, I don't want to go and do that again. Yep. No, it's like, I've got 2 hours. I really want to catch their attention in that 2 hours to grow on it. You go out 2 hours, it was action packed. On next time you're out 3 hours and so forth like that. So
it's all good stuff, and it's really awesome what you guys are doing. And I appreciate you coming on and doing this. Thank you very much for doing it.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.